It's natural for everyone to need help sometimes, and if you can offer support to others, especially young people, it can make a big difference. If I had a family and faced difficult times, I wouldn't just walk away from them. I would find a way to push through. I know this is a topic that has been discussed over and over again, almost to the point of being cliche. However, I still feel like I have something valuable to add to the conversation. It ties into things I've wanted to discuss for a while, and I continue to receive numerous requests to address this subject in my videos. A common debate that comes up is whether facial appearance or height matters more when it comes to attractiveness and overall success in life. Many people mistakenly believe that height holds greater importance than facial features. But this misunderstanding is deeply rooted in human nature. People tend to trust what they can see and measure more easily. If something is tangible and obvious, it becomes more believable. This is just part of how our minds work. We're still influenced by our instincts. It's difficult for people to grasp concepts that aren't directly in front of them or that require deep self-reflection. Unless something is blatantly pointed out to them, many individuals struggle to recognize or accept certain truths about themselves. This applies to many aspects of life and is a fundamental principle in marketing. People, especially men, will often see themselves in a more favorable light than reality suggests. Most men overestimate their own looks, assuming they are more attractive than they actually are. If you ask an average man how he would rate his own appearance, he might confidently say he's a 7 out of 10, when in reality, he might be below average. When men don't receive the results they expect in life, whether in relationships or other areas, they often look for external reasons to blame, rather than confronting the reality of their situation. There's even research showing a significant gap between how men rate their own facial attractiveness and how women rate them. Even if someone doesn't want to trust one particular study, there are multiple sources of data supporting this idea. The reality is that people often deceive themselves into believing they are better looking than they actually are. Why? Because it's easier to convince yourself that your face is fine than to deny something as obvious as height. Height is much harder to ignore. If you're of average or below average height, you can visibly see how you compare to others. There's no room to rationalize or explain it away. You can see how people react to you, and there's no denying the difference. Meanwhile, when it comes to facial features, people can convince themselves that they don't look much different from someone more attractive than them. This self-deception is reinforced by the way people treat us. Often, family and friends will sugarcoat the truth, not wanting to hurt our feelings. Even those who care about us the most, like parents, may unintentionally mislead us. A mother, for example, might tell her son that there's nothing wrong with his looks, simply because she loves him and wants to boost his confidence. These small, well-intentioned white lies accumulate over time, making it even harder for someone to gain an accurate understanding of how they are perceived. People will rarely be completely honest about your facial attractiveness, but they will have no problem being upfront about your height. That's because height is an objective fact. It can't be debated. If someone is shorter than average, they will hear about it openly, whereas if someone is considered unattractive, people will usually avoid addressing it directly. For example, I once saw a man ask for advice on how to improve his appearance. He shared multiple pictures of himself, and it was clear that he was struggling with certain aspects of his looks, such as balding and an overall unbalanced facial structure. However, instead of giving him honest, constructive advice, people responded with encouragement like, "You look great," or "Just shave your head and you'll be fine." While these comments may be well-meaning, they don't provide real solutions. In reality, this man needed direct guidance, someone to tell him the hard truth and help him take actionable steps to improve himself. If someone had advised him years earlier to take better care of his hair, maintain a healthy weight, and focus on enhancing his best features, he could have been in a much better position now. Unfortunately, no one had been honest with him early enough, and by the time he realized the truth, he had already lost many opportunities for self-improvement. This highlights the importance of facing reality head-on. Many people go through life believing that things will just work out if they be themselves, but sometimes being yourself isn't enough. If something isn't working, it's necessary to change and adapt. The sooner a person realizes this, the better off they will be in the long run. In terms of attractiveness, height does play a role, but facial features hold even greater significance in certain scenarios. A person with an ideal face can open doors beyond just romantic relationships. They might have opportunities in modeling, acting, or other industries where appearance matters. Someone with an exceptional face might not even need a particularly great personality or skills to succeed, because their looks alone can carry them forward. That's why I ask this question. If you had the choice, would you rather have the perfect height or the perfect face? Most people instinctively choose height because it's more obvious, but they underestimate the power of facial attractiveness. While height makes a big difference in the mid-range of attractiveness, an outstanding face can push someone into an entirely different league. There is also an issue with how some dating coaches and self-improvement influencers give advice. Many of them have natural advantages, such as being tall or conventionally attractive, yet they offer generic guidance like, just be confident or work on your personality. While confidence and personality do matter, they can't override fundamental aspects like appearance. A tall, good-looking man may think his success comes from his personality, but in reality, his genetics are doing much of the work. Meanwhile, shorter men or those who don't meet conventional beauty standards may struggle even if they follow all the same advice. One of the saddest examples of this misunderstanding is when men go to extreme lengths to change their height, sometimes even undergoing painful and expensive leg lengthening surgery. There have been cases where someone who was 5'6" chose to go through this procedure to become 5'9", only to realize afterward that it didn't solve their problems. Even after gaining a few inches, they might still face the same challenges, especially if they haven't addressed other aspects of their appearance. Ultimately, the takeaway here is that self-awareness and honesty are crucial.